What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of 5 on 5. I'm your host, Howard Bender. Welcome to Fantasy Alarm TV. Today's contestant on the hot seat, none other than Justin Fensterman. Fensty boy, what's up, dude? It's been a minute since we've talked, man. How are you?
Oh, it's been a very long time. I miss you very much. I didn't know we were about to play 5 on 5 against each other. Number one, I thought you were injured. Number two, I'm not dressed to play basketball because we have to be socially distant. Misinformation from you.
No misinformation. It's the name of the show. If you didn't pay attention to the previous episodes, Fensty, well, I guess we're going to have to, give you one demerit right off the bat, dude.
Yeah, okay, because how do I watch Adam Ronis with his ramen noodle hair down the entire time?
Right. Did not look like, okay, so you've seen the movie Role Models, right? Did he not look like the little kid when he was playing Gene Simmons with his hair out? Ronis is not a tall man, so... I love it.
Well, I would tell Ronis to kiss my Anthea if he were here.
Yeah, and you know what? And rightfully so. Rightfully so. And remember, nothing says royalty like coming out of the burger hole. All right, so here's the game. So for everybody who knows, I give Fensty 5 topics. He's got 5 minutes per topic to speak his mind on it. Now, if it takes him less than 5 minutes, I might grill him with a few questions, and he'll have to answer them. Once the 5 minutes is up, Fensty, you're going to hear a buzzer. It could sound like this. It could actually sound like this. Whatever the case may be, you're going to catch a buzzer. It's going down, and then you're going to have to just pivot and move. Pivot and move. You can do it. Don't move your pivot foot. Pivot and move. All right. I've got my trusty little stopwatch here ready to go. Are you ready, Justin Fensterman?
Always ready.
Are you nervous?
Nope.
You should be.
Can't even spell the word.
Well, that's just being stupid.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Clock will stop. We'll start as soon as I finish the first question. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Question number 1. What are the best case scenarios for the NBA and their playoffs if July 4th sports return actually holds?
If it actually holds, I think what the NBA can do is just pick up right from where they left off, make up those games that weren't played in the final day before stoppage, and then just finish out the season. You have about a month of the season to go, and with that, why don't you just keep the season as is so you're not messing with anything this year? That way, it's fair to those teams that if you still have a regular season and they're fighting for home court advantage, then that will benefit those teams and still allow them to fight for home court advantage. But we don't know whether or not these arenas will be having games or if there will be a neutral site. But that's still something to think about. Something else that we also have to think about is next year, because what we're doing this year will impact the schedule next year. Now, if you do come back and have the final month of the season and then the playoffs, then all of a sudden, for the last decade, everyone's been saying, start the NBA season on Christmas. Well, this is the perfect opportunity to start next season on Christmas Day and have a condensed season so that the NBA can finally give the other people who aren't willing to sit and watch the entire season as is a chance to be heard, a chance for something different. A condensed season put out some rules that really prohibit players against sitting, because that's one of the biggest critiques against the league now. So while you have your regular season going on, let's just say in July, I saw reports that the NBA ideally wants to have a champion by Labor Day. Let's just back that up 1 month and really go after October 1st. That way you have your final month by the first week of August, or even you can have less rest in between games. You could probably make the final week of July where you start your playoffs, have that go through October 1st, and all of a sudden we completed the season. That way it's fair. It doesn't take away from anything these teams have done, especially some of these newer teams that are making the playoffs for the first time in a bit. It gives them their fairness of the season, and also thinking about players like Giannis, players like LeBron, who have had fantastic seasons. Why just throw it all away? My guy, Dennis Schroeder, he deserves to win Sixth Man of the Year for that same reason. So that way, once you start next season on Christmas Day, then you're right back on schedule for the following season, and we can make like this was one disastrous memory. But to do that, we have to get back on schedule. And with that, start the season in that July 4th weekend, play out the final month, do the playoffs as is, maybe fewer rest days in between games outside of travel. So you could play back-to-back games, and you'll get done maybe not on Labor Day weekend, but October 1st, start the following season, Christmas Day. Have that go through April, May, June for the playoffs. You're back to the draft. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, well, what happens to the NBA draft? You can back that up just a little bit. Why can't you have the NBA draft necessarily while there are games going on? It seems like a little disjointed. Okay, so you back it up a few months, and once playoffs start, even though you won't know exact team needs, it still gets the draft in. You have your free agency period essentially in October and November. Thanksgiving might not be so happy for some of those players looking for new contracts, but that's when you do the NBA draft and free agency. That way you're ready to start the season up in December. At the end, gives plenty of time for training. And by the way, I'm not saying to everybody, hey, let's all go into this season that's going to resume cold. Give them a week or two to train up a little bit so there aren't any little injuries. The body has a chance to prepare, because I don't know what these players are doing right now. I don't know if they're going on walks or runs every day, but you want them to get right back into game shape.
Wow, so many questions for you here. Are you saying that, first of all, do you want to back up the NBA draft to the point where you still have NCAA college games going on? That might not be so good, because then you're going to have guys who are going to end up obligated to pull out of the tournament because they're being drafted to the NBA. It also goes against NCAA regulations. Their college career is over once they end up with an NBA team, sign with an agent, things like that. Are you talking about the season starting at Christmas time and still being an 81-game season, or are we going to condense that even more?
We're going to condense it, and that's the point of this whole diatribe I just went on, because you know me, I want all the basketball games, but a lot of people don't. So this is the time where you prove it. This is the time where you have that condensed season. And all of a sudden, you have it from December to April, maybe a 60-game season, and take it from there. Fewer rest days in between. That way, for the following year, and beyond, by the way.
That's all the time we've got for that one, Justin Fensterman. Very interesting there. This is opening up the doors to a number of conversations that you and I are going to end up having. I'm telling you, man, we might have to just do a whole other, not Meet the Family, just Justin explains how the NBA needs to fix itself. I like where your head's at here, but nevertheless, let's move on. Topic number 2, my friend. Top 5 ways to pass the time without having to sit in front of the TV.
Now, I didn't ask for any interpretation, so I'm going to do the best of my ability here, because I'm a very literal and technical guy. That's what happens when you've worked for Adam Ronis as long as I have, 5 months. Then all of a sudden you become literal to the most sense of the word there. So here's the first thing. This is something I've done, and this is actually something I hadn't done in a while up until this point. Going on a walk that's about 2 miles long. You're looking for a way to kill time. That's what you can do. A nice casual walk. I take 2 different paths that way. It's not the same exact path every single time, and I don't get bored, because the object of the game is to not get bored and thinking of different walking paths that you could discover. You want to talk about killing time? Just discovering other paths that you can walk on will actually kill more time anyway. This is how you procrastinate.
Yeah, that's really good. You with your 2 healthy legs and the ability to walk. Great, thanks.
Well, listen, one day you're going to be ready to rehab that foot. And with that, you're going to need to walk a little bit. So I'm preparing you for that time. You have to go at your own pace. And I'll also link that together. I'll handcuff it to coming back and doing 8-minute abs. It's a video that you go on YouTube from 1994. It's literally an 8 to 8.5 minute ab program that you do every day for the first few weeks. Different stretches. But the problem is, when you try to be an expert after not shaking the rust which we'll see from a lot of these NBA players, you get hurt. And I strained my abdomen the first time doing it. So I couldn't sneeze without pain. I couldn't sit down on my couch without pain. So with that, you have to work at your own pace. And I don't know the guy's name who runs the video, but he says that beginners, take your time, work at your own pace. And I said, forget that. I know how to do this, and I hurt myself. So I tell everyone, it's good to do every day, and then after a couple weeks, do it every other day. Keep the body changing. But those are two things I do right there without having to go to any kind of gym, without having to buy any kind of machines, without having to buy any kind of weights. That is number 2 right there. Number 3, and this is something that I've loved doing my entire life, goes back to burning CDs back in the 2000s, making music playlists. I love that. Take yourself out of the room that you're most in. Go to a room, wherever you live. You can even go right outside, but be socially distant. A place that you're not used to hanging out in, and create music playlists. I've created, because what do you need on your big walk? You need music. You need motivation. Go and create a playlist from the 90s, the 2000s. Break it up by genre. I've loved reorganizing my iTunes. It's been one of my favorite activities since the quarantine. As you could tell by my eyes, I'm going a little bit crazy because I've been doing this a lot, and I love ranking things. So now when all of you ask me, Fensty, what are your top 10 favorite songs? I'll be able to tell you now because I've reorganized my iTunes. I've cleaned it up. Every file has a name, an artist, everything, a playlist. I love making playlists, and then I love shuffling them and not looking at the playlist. That way, when I'm on my walk, I'm thinking, what song's going to come next? That's so much fun right there. It really is. When you burn a CD, you shuffle the songs unless you want it to have some kind of flow. But life, as we know, doesn't always need flow. Next, and this is a lost art that you and I have talked about, Howard, and that's calling and or video chatting. Everyone has texted for the last 15 years. Well, guess what? There's something else you can do besides texting. It's called video chatting. It's called actually talking on the phone. You can do that. It's very easy. You hit the phone button that's probably on your phone, or if you still have any kind of flip
There's
phone.
a phone button on my phone?
Yes, and all you have to do, it's normally green, like green means go. All you have to do is click it and go to one of your best friends or family members, and guess what? You can easily kill an hour doing it. You're not looking at the clock, and you probably haven't talked to a friend or family member on the phone in a while because the cool kids don't talk on the phone anymore. It's a lost art. How do you think Fantasy Alarm was able to win those awards? Phone conversations that Howard and I would have 3 times a day. That's the ingredient. That is the missing link that so many other even radio shows or people don't have in their lives. I grew up in the 90s. I loved talking on the phone. I called my grandparents every other day. So it was a lot of hours, and I can still kill an hour and a half talking to my grandma without even blinking an eye. That's another one. Here's something that's interesting. Writing a list of goals for the rest of the year. Now, this takes a little bit longer than you may think, and we're pretty desperate right now because this doesn't involve TV. So I have actually taken the time over the next few months to create short-term goals. I also have a separate list of long.
Oh, look at that. The lists, it was getting a little crazy there. Lists of goals.
We're all a little crazy right now.
Long walks, 8-minute abs, not 7-minute abs, but 8-minute abs. Created the Fensty mixtapes on playlist, video chats, and making lists of life goals. Look at you. Justin Fensterman. If there was ever a guy who you could turn it all into a positive, it's this guy right here. Looking sharp and purple, by the way. I won't say anything about you looking like the grape from the Fruit of the Loom commercials. I won't say a word about it.
Hey, purple's my favorite color. I appreciate it.
Really makes your eyes pop. I just want you to know that.
Oh, thank you. It's like the first time you heard the Beatles.
Next topic. Here we go. You're going to love this one, buddy. Convince me to go back and rewatch. Convince me to go back into watching professional wrestling.
Oh, now's the perfect time to go back into watching wrestling because you now have, like you would have seen in the 90s if you were a fan then, which I know you weren't, 2 companies now going at it and now feeding off each other, stealing ideas. AEW is starting to really gain that interest. It's not at the level of WWE just yet, but they are in competition. Now they'll continue to say, we're not in competition. They're in competition. They steal each other's ideas, and it's very awesome to see. And what does it give you? More options when it comes to wrestling. You can watch the chalk WWE, or you can go and watch this upstart company less than a year old with veteran wrestlers and also wrestlers you haven't seen, and it depends on what you're looking for. But they're both very different, and that's why I've been able to kill time watching both, and it's been awesome. Number 2, it's still on TV. Can't say that about other sports or sports entertainment, as Vince McMahon likes to call it. So it's still on TV. So while it's still on TV producing new episodes, why don't you just get into it anyway? What else are we doing? How many times can you actually watch Ozark before it becomes old? I know I can only watch Tiger King once. With wrestling, multiple shows. For the WWE, it has 3 shows a week. For AEW, it's got 1 show on TV and then an internet show. That's a lot of wrestling that you could be watching right now. And AEW being all about the wrestling, WWE still all about the production and the promos. It just gives you 2 different options. Now let's talk about the WWE, because I've been crapping on it enough here. Coming off of WrestleMania, it's the best time to watch WWE. And that's because all of the storylines are new. This is the time where wrestlers are going to be turning on each other. Wrestlers are going to be forming alliances. And it's a great time. It's almost like starting the book all over again. That's what WrestleMania is. It's the event. It's the end. It's like Montauk on Long Island, Howard. It's the end. That's what it is. So with that, this is the time where you won't be behind. You won't be wondering, hey, how long has Drew McIntyre been the champ for? A day. That's it. That's all you're behind. Another pay-per-view coming up, which I love for WWE. My 3rd favorite, Money in the Bank, a title shot at any time the wrestler who grabs the briefcase off the ladder can get. It's a good pay-per-view because it pushes some of those undercard wrestlers into that limelight. And that's good to see that whole transition, because it'll be up to you, the fan, whether or not that wrestler is going to stick or he's going to go right back into Jobberville, meaning you'll barely see him except getting squashed in 5 seconds. And also, and this I have to take.
Best jobber of all time. Who is it?
Barry Horowitz. Come on.
It's not Iron Mike Sharp?
Ooh, man, I was going to say, I almost said Bobby Eaton, but people in the South would have killed me if I said that. Because beautiful Bobby Eaton is a legend in his own right. I was going to say the Brooklyn Brawler. Probably one of the biggest jobbers out there. So it's up to you. It's the audience who decides essentially who gets pushed. And especially now that they can't have fans, they're going to be relying on a lot of internet content and opinion to see which wrestlers are gaining the most steam. And finally, and this is where I think, Howard, I can fully sell you on it, the WWE Network. It's $10 a month, but you get their entire catalog.
$10 a month.
$10 a month, but it's awesome because you're spending a lot of time on it. Like, I've been watching all the old WrestleManias so I could talk about WrestleMania 1 with you. I've watched the first 4 just so I can start to sound like a fan of the 80s. It has everything, all the documentaries you want, all of the Royal Rumbles, which I love watching, even new shows as well. So the content is fresh, and they've got those VHS tapes from the past. Like, you could see any old pay-per-view you want from WWE, WCW, ECW. They have all the AWA stuff as well.
Ooh, so like the old Starcades?
Yes, they have it all. And that's what's awesome about it. And that's why when they were like, oh, you can sign up for WrestleMania and get a free month or whatever the promotion was, you get WrestleMania for free if you sign up for the first month, then you can cancel. In that month, you'll be watching so much wrestling because of all of the options.
Wow, look at that. With 30 seconds to spare, Fancy. I don't necessarily know if you've really convinced me. I'll tell you what. You know what? I mean, I'll tell you, I'll spend $10 a month. No, I don't know. See, I don't even know if I can spend $10 a month on this. But knowing now that they've got all this, it astounds me that you haven't told me that you've watched Starrcade 1983 and the famed Rowdy Piper, Greg the Hammer Valentine dog collar match.
No, but I'm sure I've seen it in the past. But come on, WrestleMania 1.
Sorry. Oh, so close. You can't talk WrestleMania 1 unless you were actually there, buddy. This guy was.
You were.
Whoa. Next topic. Here we go. Number 4. Snake drafts versus auction drafts.
Whoa. This is one where I'm going to start sweating. I may have to take my shirt off for this because...
Do you have pit stains? Let me see it. Oh, yeah, little ones. Little ones. Good job.
Yes, because again, I'm fired up about this because for the last few years, and I'll continue being this guy, I am all about auction drafts. It's because it allows you the ability to control more of your own destiny rather than being randomly placed at a draft spot, or even in one of my leagues, you're based off where you finished in the standings. You come in last, you get the first pick, which I think is totally stupid. Auctions give you a better sense of value of a player. It helps make you organize. It allows you the ability to not have to spend necessarily a first or second round pick. But still, if you want to pay up for 2 guys normally going in the first round in snake drafts, you can do it. You can get them. For instance, in football, if you want McCaffrey and you want someone like Michael Thomas, yeah, you're going to be in dollar days a lot after that, getting a lot of tier 3 receivers, but still, look at who you're getting. You're getting the top running back and top wide receiver. Why not go after it in that regard? You can't do that. It's not going to happen in snake drafts. Also with auctions, let's talk about some of the critiques. It takes a long time. Well, if you're investing in your team, should it not matter how long it takes as long as you have the best freaking team possible? That's the way I think of it. I can't necessarily get that in snake drafts. And I love drafting. I love the concept of snake drafts. But auctions, when you're investing in your team, that's how you properly invest in teams. But Fensty, I'm in 9 to 12 leagues. Well, number 1, that's your problem. Number 2, probably all of them aren't going to be auctions anyway. But still, with the leagues that you really care about the most, that you have full control over, make them auctions. It's worth it. I don't care how long it takes for baseball, basketball, football. It doesn't matter. I've been in 4-hour auctions for baseball, but you know what? I end up with a team that I'm happy with. I end up making a draft list that actually helps me out because when I was in school, high school, I'd make my own review sheet. That's what I do for auctions. I essentially make price tiers, and that's fun to do. Talk about killing time. That's so much fun to do. I'll do that right now, and I don't have a redraft league in sight for either baseball or football at the moment. So I'm fine with that. It teaches me. It makes me a better fantasy player with auctions. Also, bidding people up. You're talking to your best friends, and they're like, oh, I love me some Saquon Barkley. I love him so much. Bid him up. It's fun, and everybody gets in on it. That's part of the strategy. It's like the game Survivor. It's like the show that Howard and I watch. The more you talk to people, the more advantages you'll have going in. So now that I know that one of my friends is a huge Patriots fan, you know that with most of the Patriots I won't be going after. I'll be bidding them up, bidding them up, bidding them up. That's how auctions work. They will make you a better fantasy player. It will teach you how to value players properly, and it allows you to have more control over your own destiny with your team. Not full control, but more of it, and it allows you to get the team you want. You're the artist. You're the creator. It's your vision. Make it happen. You can't do that during snake drafts.
Now, what happens if it's an auction draft and you have to go, let's say everybody's social distancing, and you have to move it to online? You lose a major element of the auction. Everybody's hitting that bid plus 1 button. That screws up how people are bidding, and it just becomes a little bit hectic. You can't read people in the room the same way. Do you lose enough at that aspect of an auction to maybe turn it like to a snake if you're going to do it online?
No, actually not at all. Because you know what you do? This is where the last topic we talked about comes in. Call your friends. Say, hey, I'm so excited for the draft. By the way, who are you thinking you're targeting this year? I mean, last year, wow, you had Hopkins, Arizona. You like him there, huh? How much you willing to pay? That's right. You get it. It's a game. Even pre-draft is a game. And it's awesome for auctions because you know who you can bid up. You can create your own strategy. I don't think it takes away when you're not live. I've never been to a live auction that I've participated in. I've covered many events for SiriusXM and Fantasy Alarm, but at the same time, I've never been in an actual live auction. They've only been online. And with the wonderful world of video chat, then yes, absolutely you can still look at each other. And also, by the way, and I've had to deal with this before, luckily not when I've been the commissioner, but yes, when there's a screw up, if a player, now if it happens every time, that's one thing. But if there is a misbid or the click is delayed and it's on to the next person.
Oh, that sounded like a good point, but I'll tell you what, you've just inspired me to start up a auction league for the Fantasy Alarm team that we do online and in a Zoom meeting where we can all see each other and check everything out. Ooh, Fensty, you're so inspirational. So inspirational. I'm loving this, man. All right, last topic. Here it comes. Another one right up your alley. Justin Fensterman, if Charlie Bucket lost, which character in Willy Wonka would be most deserving of the chocolate factory? Go.
Before I tell you who I think is most deserving, let me give the 3 other participants who I don't think deserve it. And let's start with
elimination. Okay, here we go.
So for those that are keeping score, Charlie is now out of the picture because he is not involved. So with that, now you have Augustus Gloop. Let's talk about Augustus Gloop. The kid doesn't care about anything but eating at this point. And I believe it was Tony Montana, or I believe it was Frank, whatever his name is, in Scarface, by saying, you don't really want to be high on your own supply. Imagine the sugar high that Augustus Gloop would be on if you give him the keys to the factory. He doesn't care about profiting. He'll eat all the profits. That's what he did. He drank the chocolate water, has no regard for anyone else. His dad ate the microphone when they were being interviewed after he won the ticket at the restaurant.
The Rudy Gobert microphone.
Yeah, okay, yes, but still no regard for anyone else. You expect this guy to take care of the Oompa Loompas and not eat them for lunch? I don't want Augustus Gloop. That's the easy one. Let's move on to Veruca Salt. Very selfish, and the problem with Veruca Salt is, yes, she's a take charge woman, I get that, but at the same time, she's not really take charge when she's asking for every little thing. So one of Willy Wonka's big things is he didn't want an adult to run it their own way. He wanted the kid to carry out the Willy Wonka traditions and the secrets. When Veruca Salt is asking her dad for every little business part of it, how long until that business goes under? The kid's not going to be running it. Veruca's going to be sitting there figuring out a way to steal one of the golden geeses, and she'll have her goose lay more eggs throughout the year, not just Easter. So when it comes to the golden goose, she's going to steal a golden goose. That's probably half their profits right there, because Willy Wonka explains how hard it is to maintain them. They're very temperamental. She's going to find a way to steal one, forklift one right out of there, because she's all about herself. She cares about having a feast more than actually being in the chocolate factory. So that's Veruca Salt right there.
A bean feast, right? A bean feast?
It's just with green nuts and donuts, and doesn't matter. She'll kill the factory. She wants it now. What about Mike TV? Let's talk about that. Imagine being in a conference call or a video chat with Mike TV, your boss, and he's not paying attention the entire time because he can't do anything unless he's watching TV. Also, he loves guns. What's stopping him from going in there when an Oompa Loompa is acting up and, let's just say, doing something not so nice, Carol Baskin-esque, let's just say? What's stopping Mike TV from doing that? All the kid cares about is cowboys, guns, and doesn't care as much even about candy. I actually remember sitting there and being like, why is this kid even here? He eats TV dinners. What does that have anything to do with candy? It doesn't. All I found out about Mike TV was that he never eats dinner at the table. Imagine him in a boardroom. He won't be in the boardroom. He'll miss every single meeting. There will be no leadership at the top. And his dad says he can't have a gun until he's 12. That's all the kid cares about. Now let's go on to who
I'm sorry. I was just watching something over here the whole time. But I verbally retweet everything you just said.
You're Mike TV. That's the thing. No leadership at the top. He won't make a meeting. That's the problem.
So are you telling me Violet Beauregard is the winner?
Yes, I am. Let me tell you why. She's challenge-oriented. She was at the time the current world record holder when it came to chewing gum. Imagine having that drive. Imagine having that determination. And you would think that her parents would stop her from eating a 3-month-old piece of gum. They didn't, because Sam B is a guarantee. He believes in his daughter. She doesn't let anyone get in the way. Her mom, during the interview, when she's like, "Cool it, mother." Come on, that's leadership right there. She knows all about the candy. This isn't really known, but she's asking Willy Wonka little questions about the factory and about the candy. No one else did that. Charlie's sitting there going, "Wow, amazing, a chocolate river." But she's asking him about where the beans are harvested. She's asking him about the machines. She's the only one who really gives a darn about the factory and its well-being, and that she wants to lead it. Her one problem is that, okay, she can't taste test the food. She learned her lesson. You think she's going to do that again? No, of course not. Outside of being a horrible taste tester and not listening to that specific instruction, I can't find a bad thing about Violet Beauregard. She's determined. She loves candy. She's not going to let her father or her mother run the factory. She's Violet Beauregard. She's the heir apparent if Charlie Bucket kicked the bucket back then.
Oh, my Lord. That's the time. That was tremendous. That was me wishing that we had 5 more topics to go through with that. There's nothing else I can say. Dropping the mic, Justin Fensterman, so far the most awesome 5 on 5. That's going to do it for us here. Join us the next time Fensty's on. We got everybody joining us here. Fensty, you've got a gift there, my friend. You have a gift.
You're really good, you.
I'm going to thank Justin Fensterman. I'm going to thank our producer, Matt Sells, for all the hard work he does. And that's going to do it for today's 5 on 5. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm Howard Bender of the Fantasy Alarm. We'll catch you next time.